Portfolios are one of the most important pieces of document created by a designer. It showcases you, your ideas, your aesthetics. Now on this channel, I have invited a lot of guests for my portfolio review series. Viviano from Mass Operations, Mariana from Zahadid Architects, Oli from Bjarke Ingels Group, Chantel from Zahadid Architects, and Steven, the founder of Show It Better. Now in these episodes, each of these guests helped us to see how a portfolio can be looked at in many different ways. Each of them brought their own expertise, their own design aesthetics. Now, if you haven't watched these episodes, I highly recommend you go watch them because they can give you a lot of insight into what can and should go into a portfolio. So on this channel, with all of the episodes combined, I have shown you 17 different portfolios. But in order to select these, I had to go through hundreds and hundreds of folios for each episode. So after reviewing so much work and connecting with all of these amazing guests, I have created this video that can give you the basics of portfolio building. This will help you prep a portfolio that best represents you. Now before I dive in, I will have a couple of announcements which I will make at the end of this video. So stay tuned. Okay, so before we dive deeper into portfolio building, I want to take a moment to talk about what a portfolio actually means. You see, a portfolio is the first line of communication that you have with your employer or an institution. Before even getting a chance to speak about your projects, your background, your ideas, you will be judged on your portfolios.
I think it is so unfair that we have to redact ourselves and redact our intelligence and our creativity to like 20 pages on a PDF. And I felt this as a student and as a professional. I still feel like this. I think it's really unfair.
Which, yes, is quite unfair if you think about it. But that is what the challenge is. So portfolios are not just formalities. They are well-designed, nicely presented windows into who you are and what you can do. And that is why it is important to note that there is no set format to make a portfolio. It has to best represent you and your work. It is a piece of you, so obviously it will be unique. And you don't need to just put your portfolio into pre-made boxes. But having said that, you do need to pay attention on how you are graphically designing your portfolio. And that brings us to our first point. Now, we as designers work on the smallest of details when it comes to our projects. From initial planning to final visualizations, it's a tedious process, but we thoughtfully craft our entire project for a beautiful presentation. So we already have the ability to care for how our designs are communicated and presented. But sadly, we don't use that ability while portfolio building. Portfolios aren't just scrapbooks where you just put your projects, write a few words and be done with it. Just like a project, a portfolio also needs to be designed. So the point is, when it comes to portfolios, it is not just your building designs that need to shine, but also your graphic design abilities. So the first tip for portfolio building is to actually carefully think and craft out the pages, craft out how your portfolio will be presented. As I said, it's the first line of communication between you and your employer. So you need to craft that communication. You need to know what your portfolio is saying and actually present that. So bottom line, graphic design is important. Okay, so you understand what a portfolio is. You understand you need to design it graphically. Let's come to one of the most important questions. How long should a portfolio be? Now this is one of the first things that people think about when making a portfolio. What should be the length of the folio? Offices don't want to see 100 pages filled with projects, but they also don't want to see everything you have in just 5 pages. So what is the ideal length? After looking at loads of portfolios around the world and speaking with all of my guests, I've realized that the number of pages is not the number you should be looking at.
It's very difficult to narrow it down to a page number because sometimes, depending on the graphic design, you can stream through 60 pages in a few seconds very easily. Or if it's a very heavily overcrowded design, 20 pages might feel like a year.
Rather than the number of pages, what really matters is the number of projects you put in. and the golden range for this is between 4 to 6 projects. 6 should be the maximum number of projects that you put in your portfolio, and that too if you just can't let one go. Anything beyond that and your portfolio is already too big. Okay, so now we know how many projects to include in the folio, but how do we choose from all of our projects? So as I told you earlier, a portfolio needs to reflect you and your style. So when we are talking about selecting projects for your portfolio, they need to be the ones that best showcase your talents. So basically select the top 5 projects that best summarize your design style and your aesthetic. And with each of them, you can have a different intention. With one, you may want to showcase your ability to plan spatially. With another one, you might want to showcase your rendering abilities. Similarly, even the scales can be different. For example, if you're applying somewhere for urban design, you might want to include more macro level projects. So the selection will purely depend on you, your skill set, and your interests. And with that, I want to come to my next point. Okay, so now that we know how to choose a project, there's actually a myth about portfolios, and this is especially for all the young students out there. When I was in school and was making my portfolio, there was this advice that used to go around, and that was that my portfolio needs to show evolution. Basically, it needs to show everything I did in my early years and how I have evolved as a designer over the 5 years. Cut to today, when I've seen hundreds and hundreds of portfolios, I can tell you with full confidence that is not a good strategy. Your portfolios need to showcase your skill set right now, not what your skill set was 5 years ago. Everybody evolves from their first to their final year. In your portfolio, you don't need to showcase that. You don't need to showcase an evolution. What you need to showcase is your skill set. What you need to showcase is what you can do right now. And also, whichever is your best project, put it really early on in the portfolio, so you can easily have the attention of your employer or whoever is looking at your portfolio. So do not go for this common myth that you need to showcase evolution. Okay, so now that we've talked about project selection, let's quickly come to the elements of a portfolio. What all do you need to put inside? Now, there is obviously a cover page followed by a CV, and usually after that, there is an index. Now, you can choose to not put an index, but I personally like to have a reference as to how many projects I will see in a portfolio. It helps me prepare, so I like portfolios with an index in them. After that, obviously come all the projects that you have selected for your portfolio. Remember, 4 to 6. And finally, at the end is the miscellaneous or photography or artwork section. Now, especially for this section, only put it in if you're really good at it. If you have great artwork or great photography skills, mad sketching skills, and you want to showcase them, put them right ahead. But if you think you're mediocre at sketching, I would not recommend putting that in your portfolio, as it'll just take up more pages and won't add value to your portfolio. As with everything else in the portfolio, it is about putting your best foot forward. And remember, don't make this section too long. Okay, so now we've talked about the graphic design, the length of the portfolio, the elements that go into the portfolio. Now I want to talk about 2 important things, 2 tips that you need to keep in mind while making the portfolio. Number 1, visuals are important. As architects, the language that we communicate in is visual. So for your portfolio, whatever you put in, drawing, visualizations, sketches, collages, anything, only put it in if they are good. And if you think they need more work, I would recommend actually sitting down and putting work on those visuals.
It's not only a visual thing. You don't have to be superficial. Like, hey, if you do great renders, if you do great diagrams, it matters. I mean, no, like the content matters as well. But the first decisions are very visually based. So if you make a good first visual impression, then the rest will be complementary. But if the visual doesn't work from the start, then it's like a very bad first impression. You're like, all right, so they have to work very hard at having great designs, having great variety in their portfolio, being very consistent if the visual didn't work, You
need to polish those visuals. So give your portfolio the time and effort that it needs. Number 2, and probably one of the most important advices I can give you, do not overfill your portfolio. Now, if you've seen my video where I showed you my portfolio, one thing you might have noticed is my portfolio was a little too cluttered. It was very chaotic and I wanted to put a lot of projects in very few pages. So I just stuffed too much information in my pages and it made it all a little unreadable. So one of the most important advices I can give you is give your drawings space to breathe. Let your details, everything that you've put in, let them shine and let them be seen. So spread things out, make it cleaner. Okay, so after these 2 tips, let's quickly talk about what all softwares can you use to make your portfolio. Number 1 is obviously Photoshop. Now Photoshop is a very flexible tool. You can do so much with it. I made my portfolio within Photoshop. The benefit of using Photoshop for your portfolios is you can easily edit your photos, edit your drawings, edit your visuals. You can add effects, you can change colors, everything that you want in Photoshop. So it makes it all very easy. The downside to it is you create each page individually, so you might not be able to put all your pages together. But all in all, Photoshop is a wonderful tool. So if you know how to use it, I really recommend using that for your portfolios. Number 2 is Illustrator or CorelDRAW. Now a lot of my friends actually use this to create their portfolios. It is a great software for anybody out there using these softwares. So if you want to create your portfolio and you know how to use them, go right ahead. Number 3, and probably one of the best softwares to use, is Adobe InDesign. Now Adobe InDesign is a specifically made software for publications, books, magazines, portfolios, you name it, you can make all of it in Adobe InDesign. It is very easy to use and it has a lot of functionality that will really help with your portfolio building. The only downside is, unlike Photoshop, you can't work on your visuals. You can't add effects, change colors. So if you want all of that to be done, you need to pair Adobe InDesign with some other software like Photoshop. But again, this whole process is very easy. So Adobe InDesign is one of the best choices for portfolio building. So these are some of the top choices for portfolio making, but of course, this list is not exhaustive. If you use some other software or have more recommendations, let us all know in the comments below. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. These are the basics of portfolio building. So this was an introduction, your first step towards portfolio building, everything that you need to keep in mind. But this is actually the tip of the iceberg. There's actually a lot more that I've learned after looking at literally hundreds of them. I have also been fortunate enough to have conversations with architects around the world, and they have told me about their own portfolios, what they look for in portfolios, and I have compiled all of this information in a new course that I call the Portfolio Masterclass. Now you can get access to this Portfolio Masterclass for free. How can that happen? I will come to that in a few minutes. Let me first tell you what all is included in the masterclass. Now in this video, I told you about the elements that go into making a portfolio. In the masterclass, we'll go deeper into each of those elements. We'll talk about cover pages, what is the best way to make them. We'll talk about CVs, what all information is needed and how is it to be structured. We'll also talk about the dimensions of the portfolio and also how you can take your existing projects and incorporate them in such a way that your portfolio can be graphically beautiful. I will actually show you with examples of how you can take whatever you have right now and rearrange them so that it is clear, it is readable and everything has space to shine. This will actually be a class on how to communicate your designs the best way, how to manage the graphics of your portfolio. We'll also be talking about color schemes, working drawings, all the nitty-gritty details, and I will also talk about my application process, what all is involved, and also give you tips for your interviews. Now, in addition to all of these, you will also have access to all the Patreon exclusive videos of portfolio reviews, which have even more detailed conversations with all the guests that have appeared on this show. So if you're interested in joining this workshop, there are actually 2 options available for you. Number 1 is joining this workshop live. So as the name suggests, I will be with you. This will be a live workshop. This will include everything that I've just told you, plus a live Q&A. You can ask me questions about whatever, portfolios, interviews, the whole process, and I will be there to answer all of them. The second option is to go for a pre-recorded session. Now the live and the pre-recorded session will have the same contents, but the difference is that there won't be a live Q&A. We won't be able to have a dialogue about your queries and questions in the pre-recorded version. But I have made this option available specially for all the students out there. Now, the first 10 people who register for the live workshop will also get detailed portfolio feedbacks for their own portfolios. I will literally sit page by page. I will tell you project by project what I feel, what I think you can do better, what I like about the portfolio, what I don't like. I will send you detailed feedbacks, but this is only for the first 10 people who register. So if you're interested in attending the workshop, you can find the form in the description below. Okay, let's come to the interesting part. Now you can have the access to the pre-recorded version of this workshop for free. And for that, all you have to do is answer one simple question. Which is your favorite building? Basically, you have to comment below with your favorite building, and I will choose 10 people from those comments who will get access to the pre-recorded version of this workshop for free. You can do this, you can comment till 7th of March, 11:59 PM Indian Standard Time. So go down, comment below, and also share it with your friends. And yes, just FYI, the masterclass is open to people all over the world. Now, one last thing I want to tell you is I will soon reveal the guests for Portfolio Review episode 6. But even before I reveal the guest, if you want your portfolio to get reviewed and to get featured on this channel, you can mail it at baportfolioreview@gmail.com. I'm looking forward to some amazing portfolios. And yeah, that was the video, you guys. I really hope you like it. I really hope you took something from it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share this video, do subscribe to Blessedarch, and don't forget in the comments below, let's have a conversation about the video. Also tell me which is your favorite building if you want access to the masterclass for free. Also, I've started posting YouTube shorts on this main channel. How do you like them? Let me know that also in the comments below. And that was it. I will see you guys soon with more such content. Until then, bye bye.